Hello and welcome to The Big Leap presented by CleverTap, the retention cloud leader and a pioneer in helping brands engage and retain their users. And on this show, we will shine a light on the other pioneers, the marketers, the companies, the growth leaders achieving growth through retention. Our guests on this show, they share the steps, the strategies, the stories that took them from good to great. And today, my guest is no exception to that. In fact, she's described as, and I quote, a high energy, strategic, and adaptable leader. She's focused on driving business results while creating insight-driven customer experiences. She's also had previous experience and held senior marketing positions at companies including PepsiCo. And today, she's the Senior Vice President, CMO of Bloomin Brands. And she's here with me today, Danielle, Vona. It's great to have you, and I hope you brought some of that high energy with you as well.
Thank you, Peggy. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, when I read that in your bio, I thought, okay, that's cool. Keeping energy levels high is part of your DNA. What about in your job? Let's start off with just asking and finding out how you do that. You like to innovate and solve business problems. What's a source of inspiration and energy for you?
Well, actually, are you familiar with Strength Finders, Peggy? Do you know that tool?
Yeah.
It's kind of a personality assessment type of tool, like many of the others that exist. But this one focuses on what are you great at and what are your strengths. And it's funny when you ask a question about what is your source of inspiration or your source of strength, some of it is in your DNA, right? So in my Strength Finders, my number one is positivity. My number two is communication. Maximizer, like taking something good and making it great, really inspires me. And strategic, what are all the different paths on how we can get from A to B and how could that work? So some of what motivates me is just leaning in on the things that I love. And, those are the things that inspire me the most. We actually use that Strength Finders team with my whole team. And it also just helps us lean on each other based on what we're great at. And so for me, I bring a lot of energy and positivity to the team just because it's part of my personality. But I also am inspired by taking something good and making it great, and great communications and how to think about strategies and planning. So those things keep me motivated.
That is really, truly inspiring. I'm going to check that out. And I think that one of the other key characteristics or something in your personality is you do like to push the envelope. You like to try something new. And when I look at OutBack Steakhouse, right, you're a cuisine company, but you span the physical and digital realms. I mean, you are really leaning into digital. Tell me a little bit about the experience first. Where and how do I engage with OutBack in these realms?
COVID did change the digital landscape. Everyone went digital, and video chats and video communication is not what it was pre-pandemic. And it's the same when it comes to food and ordering food online and delivery and to-go food is significantly increased throughout COVID. So we actually have a mantra on, we want you to be able to get OutBack wherever you are, whenever you want it. So we have OutBack available in restaurants. We have it available through DoorDash, Uber Eats, Grubhub, EasyCater. So anywhere we can have a presence that helps give access to people when and where they want it, that's where we want to be. So it's not just our nearly 700 restaurants across the country for OutBack, but it is also anywhere you want it and any way you want to get it. So that's how we've thought about it. And it's been working for us in the last few years, especially.
You've got omni-channel, you've got app. We'll get to that in a moment. But one channel that plays a central role, interestingly, in this is social. I always love social media and shopping. This is social media and having a great experience, a great time out. You have a strong focus on TikTok and Instagram. Just want to stay with TikTok and Instagram for a moment. Tell me about that focus and a little bit of like the why. It's more than just to be there. You have something else in mind.
Yeah, I think, when people say social media, it sounds like it's a channel. It's not a channel. It's many, many channels. And as the big channels develop and whether or not they're the latest and greatest and there's something other new coming up, we sort of have to understand how to play in all of those channels. And they each have different roles. They have different kinds of content, different ways that you engage with audiences. So Instagram and TikTok are much more on the newer end of those channels versus some of the other channels. We need to be in all of them and we need to have the right content in the right places. And so for us to be successful in TikTok, we've had some really fun things where we're engaging with influencers, but we've also really used our OutBack Teammates program to help us build audience and credibility in some of those new spaces, which has been, very exciting for us. So those channels are all important to us, and building new muscle in new channels is often helped by getting the right partnerships and the right people.
Let's stay with that one program, Teammates, name, image, likeness, that program, NIL Teammates. It's in its second year. It's all about targeting Gen Z and older millennial college football fans. Tell me about the program. Tell me about the audience. Tell me about the fit.
When the NIL initiative was announced in 2021, we were probably one of the first, if not the first, to jump in and say, how would we do this? We have a history with college sports. We know it aligns well with our audience and our fans of the brand, as well as people that have just a passion about college sports and college athletes. So we jumped right in and started the OutBack Teammates program. It is a way for us to align with players across the country that have consistent values. They fit with our brand. They have a social impact and engagement in social media. So we're sharing audiences. We're giving them access to ours and they're giving us access to theirs. They are a market fit for us. This is sort of how we choose those athletes. So they need to line up with our restaurants and our locations. But they also need to have some national relevance. So college sports can get very insular to the town or the city that they're in, but there are definitely players that have sort of that national play. So that's how we select our athletes. We create partnerships with them, and then they help promote our brand and we help promote them. So it's a very symbiotic relationship. We do keep in mind, though, that they are college students. And so we're cautious about how much we ask them to do, and we make sure that it's appropriate so that they're focused on the right things. But we have really enjoyed the relationships we have created so far, and we've done football, basketball, and baseball. So we've gotten 3 seasons, and we've just kicked off the new football season. So it's been very exciting.
I mean, it is a fit. I mean, obviously, sports and eating and having a great time. What about the results for your brand? I mean, for example, you've got, as you said, it can be very local, but you've got people like John Seaton, defensive lineman, 1.8 million followers on TikTok. What's the advantage of aligning with, people who have influence like that and ultimately the result for your brand?
The results have been great so far. We've been really happy with the progress we've made, and it's all new. So, we're setting our own expectations as we go. But John Seaton is a great example of someone who's getting us access to a new audience. He's very engaging. He creates interesting content, and he's not the only one. There are other players like him. AJ Henning also has just a great following, and so we've had some great success partnering with some of these players. So the result for us is we've had 314 million impressions that are earned because of our involvement with NIL, which has been amazing. We have $94 million in earned media that we've gotten from this kind of activity. Generally we are having conversations in relevant places throughout social media, partnering with these players. Part of the program is that they also get these really cool, like metal black OutBack gift cards, and they bring their teammates into our restaurants and they capture those experiences. So it goes beyond sort of the promoting in social, and it has real life experiences that happen in our restaurants with our guests, which is exciting as well.
That also bridges again those realms, as I said. And it's interesting that you have this as a result, because you have purposely gone for a fit and authenticity. Whereas some people, at the beginning or even now in social media, they're looking at different KPIs. They're looking at a different type of fit. They're just looking at maybe a celebrity. No, you went for authenticity.
Yeah, and actually, just to build on that, so we're doing these big tent poles of basketball and football. But when we're in between those seasons, we have an open call for all college sports and hundreds of applications of athletes coming to us who are swimmers or rugby players or whatever their sport is. And we also choose them, and we have different tiers of packages that we might do to sort of help them in their endeavor and also have them help us as we connect with those audiences. So it's been really fun.
Cool. That is great. That's a community built to last. Now, you obviously leverage social, but what originally got my attention, and now we're going into all the depth of what you do. But the first thing I saw was like, wow, moving marketing into the metaverse with limited edition NFTs. It's not the place I would think of for this to manifest itself, in a restaurant. Tell us about this fun approach. Walk us through it. What is this experience?
Like anything else, especially for someone like me and even for our team, some people have a lot of experience in this area, but most don't. And it's relatively new. So we wanted to experiment with it. We wanted to see what it could look like. How could it add to the things that we're doing? What does it take to execute something in that space that's meaningful to the audience and can build brand as well? And so we've done 2 initiatives with NFTs. The first was really our trial on how does this work. And we did it this past June tied to baseball, and it was a Bloomin' Bud NFT. So it was a baby bloomin' onion that would grow up into an adult bloomin' onion. It was very cute. We did it for free. So you'd get on and you'd have to pay the gas fee. We made 8,000 unique ones, and they sold out in less than 20 minutes, meaning people redeemed them in less than 20 minutes. So it was impressive and fun. We had some learnings coming out of that, but now we're in the player version of that, which is the more sophisticated, has the players on the NFTs. The NFTs actually have a dollar amount associated with them, so you have to buy them for $50. And we are continuing to try to tie utilities to that, meaning a utility is an actual offer or value that goes beyond the NFT itself. So on the Bloomin' Bud one, we had a free bloom. If you bought that NFT, you could come in and get a free bloom in the restaurant. So it ties to the business. And on this one, we have it tied to a catering offer so you can feed your team, right, and the teammates. So there's a dollars off catering offer for this one. So it's been exciting to figure out how do we also use it to drive culture, but what is the connection to try to also help us connect to the business and have it drive business performance.
What about your key learning? One is that you could try it out, all the steps. What does it take to do this? You've done it twice. It was about building culture. What have you learned about that?
Well, the first thing is this takes planning, and you need to give yourself time to do it. And whatever the plan is, it probably will change. So test, learn, but be ready to change and adjust if things are not working exactly the way you had hoped. When we laid out the program, it was very different than what it looked like at the end. But you have to be sort of willing and ready to make those adjustments as it goes. I would also say it is getting us a different audience, and we can see that it is a new audience. So that's a learning and an important one for us as we continue to think about how do we access the right people in the right moments. And then I would say that utility, whatever that value is that goes beyond the NFT, is also pretty important. So we'll continue to think about what role do NFTs play in our portfolio? How would we want to use them? We want to be thoughtful and strategic about it. So we're not throwing a bunch of things out there. We're doing the things that we think are most meaningful to people that are interested in NFTs and to our guests who will think it's cool that we're participating in things like this.
So that's the cool new thing. And you're experimenting with it, and that's just the start. What is interesting is you're also going back and you're looking at old approaches, old campaigns, and getting new mileage, new value out of them. One of your most popular, No Rules, Just Right campaign. It first debuted in the early 2000s. You're bringing it back. Why bring it back?
Our restaurants have always had a very strong culture. And, if you work for OutBack in a restaurant, you know who you are and you know what family you belong to. It is a very strong culture. And as we've had more work from home situations in general, and people are more disparate, we wanted to re-engage our teams in the culture of the company overall, both in the corporate office and in the restaurants. And as we started doing that work, the No Rules, Just Right campaign kept coming up because it is part of the DNA of the brand and of our people. So we have a new vice president of marketing on OutBack who has helped bring this to life and re-engaging not just the field, because in our restaurants, No Rules, Just Right is about getting to yes for a customer. And always getting to yes. How do I get to yes? Whatever they need. That mantra helps us deliver better experiences. And then from a marketing perspective, it creates all kinds of fun opportunities. It's recognizable by our guests. People remember No Rules, Just Right, the campaign. There's a lot of freedom with what we can do today. So we can take what we've done before that was successful and make it relevant and current for today's audience. So we're very excited about it. We've started to do some things with it, but the big launch is actually coming in the beginning of 23.
Just wondering, because you're the type of person, I feel it, Danielle, it's like, it's great to reinvent, but it's even better to do something bigger and better the second time around. Without giving away what the campaign's going to be like, what can you tell us about how you're applying learnings? Because that was the early 2000s. You've done a lot in between. What makes this not just a reinvention, but like a reimagination of this campaign?
The biggest reimagination part is there are a lot of different people involved in the brand now than there was back then. And so you have a new group, a new team that looks at it a new way. We also have a different business. I mean, we have so much more to go and delivery and other types of ways to enjoy our brand than we did back then. So being able to translate this into lots of parts of our business is going to be also really fun. But we're going to take some things like the logo, the tagline. We had a sort of iconic upside down kangaroo that was really fun that people used. And we're saying, these things are great. People remember them. Let's refresh them and keep what's great and then build on it from there. It's the maximizer from Strength Finders, right? Like, how do we take what's good and make it great? So that's how we're thinking about it. And so we'll have new creative. We have a So Much Yes campaign we're doing with our restaurants to help our Outbackers make sure that they are getting to yes for customers every day. So it's not just a marketing tool. It is a holistic brand launch, and we're really excited about it.
That is so much cooler than just a relaunch of a campaign. You've really thought this through. And I have to say, a lot of marketers, they tend to say, well, we've got to do it different. And by relaunching, sometimes losing some of it. You got to make a lot of really smart choices here. And you're also making choices when you look at your Dine Rewards campaign, program, where you're going from visits to points, which is certainly a big leap, a little bit of a pun on the show perhaps, but it's different. It's not just a relaunch. Tell me about that.
Our Dine Rewards program has been very successful for a long time, and it really helps us get to know our customers better. In 2020, we actually started this work. And then this past year, we did the conversion in March from visits to points. And the real core piece of that is that it's going to be easier for us to create unique, value-oriented experiences with a points program than it is with a visits program. Because as you collect points, we can redeem them for more interesting things. So we're excited for where this is going. We're working on making sure that the core parts of the program are good, that we have great acquisition campaign activity going on, and then we're going to continue to build new and interesting ways that guests can leverage their points in Dine Rewards for fun and unique experiences.
And you also have what it takes then to make and lead an ecosystem. So that will be something to watch. I want to zoom back out and say, this is a breadth of channels, a breadth of experiences, what you're doing, and understand a little bit more about that channel mix, because the marketing mix has changed, right? Now we're in a post-privacy world. Channels are different. They need to be relevant. They need to drive engagement, ultimately retention, which is what we're discussing as well.
The reality is that we still need great awareness components to our marketing mix, and we need things that are also going to convert. And those awareness things used to be all about TV and sort of radio awareness, and then conversion was further down in the funnel. Digital properties also are much more awareness oriented now than they used to be. So our mix continues to change based on the performance of the channels. So we're continuing to use tools to do that, and we measure it every quarter and we adjust, and then we think about what our objectives are and what the best channels are for delivering that message, and then again measuring against those. So it's an evolution, though significantly more digital today than it was.
So digital is important. Another thing that's very important is real-time context in communications. You can't engage me now about something I did a few hours or a few days ago. So I'm hearing more about marketers thinking about real-time engagement, or at least using those signals differently than they have in the past. What's it look like at OutBack?
Yeah, I think we have some of that, although we can continue to get better at all of that. For social media, we have an organic team that is monitoring, reviewing, we are responding through we have reputation tools and talent behind our sort of social footprint and reputation, so that we can engage with customers real time when they're having questions or challenges. But when we find something interesting, you need to be on it right then. Because to your point, 24 hours from now, if I respond to, the fact that someone who was very cool in the space made a comment about OutBack, then we look old if we haven't responded in 24 hours. So we do have a team that is on that and that pays attention to that and jumps in when we have those fun culture moments. And we've had a few of them over the last year, which have been really fun. We had an influencer who was insisted on making his own bloomin' onion. This is TikTok. And he went to a store and bought one of the cutters for the onion, and then, did a whole video about it. And so we jumped in and said, we would be happy to show you how to do this for real. We flew him into Tampa and we had him make a bloomin' onion, and then he reposted it on his channel and TikTok. So getting in there in the moment is critical.
That is really cool. And if you think about it, it wasn't like a lot of new effort. It was attention. That's what influencers, that's what your customers want. They want to know that you are listening, but listening in a good way. One place that you listen and pick up the signals and try to get into the vibe of your user behavior is the app, right? It's the brand in the hand. And yours must be an amazing year for you, Danielle. Yours is relaunch, rethink, reimagine. No, you're doing a revamp of the app as well. There's a lot of learnings. There's a lot of pain that goes into this process as well. Tell me about it, and maybe the toughest choice you've had to make to improve the app experience.
Our app was really neglected before, and I would say we just didn't give it the attention that it needed to be a meaningful tool. The reality is you have to earn space on someone's phone. So if you're going to be an app and you expect to take up one of those little boxes, it has to have some value to the user. So we really thought about that. Our app relaunched this past year, and I think we have a really lovely experience, and it's user friendly. It still has a ways to go for us to be able to make it more meaningful. So we're starting notifications, and we want to get into how do we leverage it for wallet use and all of those things that will make the experience better and easier for our guests. We're also taking our mobile website and having the mobile website mirror the app, so everything will look pretty consistent for the guest. And so that consistency of experience and trying to remove any friction has been really our focus. And then as we continue to build it, we'll get more and more interesting things I think that we'll be able to do on the app. But that has been our focus so far, is to make sure we have the right foundation, that it's a seamless experience and easy for people.
A lot that you have on your list. We started talking about marketing pioneers, and I said, this is the show. We give them a moment to shine. Your success is best, well, any marketer's success really is best when you can repeat it. What is your golden rule for growth through retention, and what are you doing to bake it into your brand?
Testing and learning is a critical element to doing these things right, especially retention of people, which is a lot about what's happening in the digital space. So being able to connect with them, test, learn, figure out how that works, what do they care about, is important. I would also say that everything is changing every day, and we need to just change with it. We need to be ready. And if you're someone who doesn't like change, find other areas of your strengths that let you lean into change. I'm a planner. Okay. So things are going to change. Help us replan, right? Those types of things, because things are going to just keep changing and we need to be ready for them. And then, don't be afraid to move forward and to keep going and to fail and all of those things that we say we're okay doing, but then we still get nervous about it when we're in the moment. So those are probably some of the golden rules that I like to live by.
Well, we said it at the start, Danielle. We started with high energy. We're going to leave on a high note. I don't think you can be anything but high energy after this show, actually. So I'm really enjoying this on a Friday. It's like, yeah, this is the end of a long week. This is fun. It's not even work. We're coming out of a couple of hard years, and it's your job. You're a CMO. You have to see around the corners. You have to see what's coming, what's next. You said yourself, you love to plan. So what's one thing growth leaders should know about what's coming next that will change their strategic planning today?
Yeah, the last 2 years have been so volatile that you can't predict what's coming next. We just know that it's going to be different than where we are today. And, we need to be ready for it. So, I think it lends itself to what we just talked about. It is about, to me, embracing the change that's happening and being able to figure out how to leverage it and drive it versus, being concerned about it or trying to fix it. Right. There's going to be more coming. Know when to dip your toe in and know when, that probably is more than we can do right now. Let's have someone else check that out. And then when that becomes something interesting, then let's jump in on it, right? Making those kinds of decisions.
Some of the decisions you made, really impressive, when to relaunch, when to reuse, when to reinvigorate, some learnings. We've got NFT and some old campaigns, and even engaging your tribe. So it's been a lot of learnings here, Danielle. I want to thank you so much for sharing today.
Thank you for having me, Peggy. This has been really fun.
And this has been The Big Leap. For our audience, we also publish this video as a podcast, which is easy for you to consume on the go, on the train, on the plane, wherever you may be. And if you're listening to the audio version, you can also see the video. Just search for The Big Leap on YouTube. This show is all about shining a light on amazing marketers who took the big leap to achieve growth through retention. So if you have a story to tell, hook up with me on LinkedIn and we may get you set up with a show of your own. Until then, this is Peggy Anne Salz for CleverTap and The Big Leap.